The Newsagents.
On today's episode, you won't be surprised to hear that we're covering an election. But it's not that one, because we are standing on the streets of Paris for perhaps the most important election this week. It doesn't involve Rishi Sunak, doesn't involve Keir Starmer. It involves the rise of the French far right.
And it has been a journey that has taken them from outsiders who grew out of Nazism and are now in the mainstream of French politics. And it would be an earthquake if, as a result of the first round of these elections, and there'll be another round next Sunday, we end up with a far-right populist prime minister in one of the most powerful countries in Europe. It's possible. Welcome to the Newsagents.
The Newsagents.
C'est Louis.
C'est Jean. Salut. Okay, we're going to speak in English for the rest of the time now before this becomes a ridiculous parody of a podcast. But what we're going to do...
We're way past that.
There are authentic French sirens in the background. It's got everything, this episode.
Yeah, and by the time you're listening to this, you will have one up on us, which is you will know the results of the first round of the French parliamentary elections. We don't, as we're standing here about, 5 o'clock, not watching the England match. That's just how devoted we are. So we are going to be covering that result in full on tomorrow's episode, or Monday's episode, if you're listening to this on Monday, because there will be big ramifications potentially for the European project, for the Macron presidency, and indeed for how Keir Starmer interacts with and negotiates with and deals with his European partners and allies, if indeed he is to form the next British government.
But we are going to start with events back in the UK, where it's the final weekend of campaigning. Some of the papers have come out and made clear their positions on the campaign. The politicians have been out and about, but you feel that nothing has changed at the end of this gruelling 5 or 6 weeks. Maybe the Liberals up a bit, maybe Reform growing a lot more, but very tetchy in the process. And Rishi Sunak trying to hold the line and sounding ever more cross and fed up as it goes on.
Yeah, Rishi Sunak was on BBC Today doing what could be his last big interview before polling day. And look, this campaign has been extraordinary. It has often been said, or sometimes been said, that it's been dull or insular, and I can see why people would say that. And on the face of it, the only thing you kind of really need to know about this campaign as we go into the full final week is that, to quote a Prime Minister of ours not long gone, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed, right? In the sense that we started this campaign with a 20-point or so Labour poll lead. We are ending, or at least we are getting to the last full week, with a 20-point Labour poll lead. Unlike the Theresa May campaign in 2017, when there was a 20-point lead in the other direction, that closed. This hasn't. It hasn't closed even a little bit. And that is actually amazing, John, because as we know, usually in campaigns, in election campaigns, things tighten usually in the direction of the government. People start to have that sense of better the devil you know. The only caveat, as we've been saying throughout, is there is still an unusually high number of don't knows. And Tory MPs, if you talk to Tory MPs or Tory candidates, they will say they are clinging on to that little life raft as a little bit of hope. And it is true that, as we've seen in our own focus group, but also in other focus groups that we're reading about, this notion of a Labour so-called supermajority, of not giving Keir Starmer a blank cheque, has actually seeped through. People are bringing it up, apparently on the doorstep. And you've seen in the Tory press, Mail on Sunday, the Sunday Telegraph and the Sunday Express, you have seen really them attempting to amplify that message, turn it up to 100 with a series of pretty lurid, pretty florid headlines saying, among other things, Keir Starmer would bankrupt Britain in 100 days, would bankrupt every generation and ruin Britain in 100 days.
The only problem with that is that it only took Liz Truss 48. But, and so reminding voters how you could end up bankrupting the country is not great, because it draws attention to something else that happened only a couple of years ago. The other thing I thought when I saw those headlines, Lewis, and I don't know about you, is once upon a time, those headlines would have put the fear of God into the Labour Party and would have the Tory party going, yes! The papers are in their full cry, the Tory supporting press are right behind us. And now, do you know what? I think, who cares? What difference is it going to make what the Sunday Express splashes, or even the Sunday Telegraph, or even the Mail on Sunday? The days when newspapers could could make a reasonable claim to say, we won the election for the Conservative Party, I think they're long gone. I think they look like toothless tigers, kind of going back to the headlines when they were in their pomp, but are now just meaningless.
And look, the Sunday Times endorsed the Labour Party for the first time since 2005. Labour Party pleased about that. There are questions about whether the Sun will do the same. I think a lot of suspicion that they won't, or perhaps they won't endorse anybody, partly because of Rupert Murdoch and the suspicion within the Murdoch empire that there still is about Keir Starmer, because Keir Starmer was the DPP during the period of the phone hacking scandal and was responsible, therefore, with the attempted prosecutions and indeed successful prosecution in one very high-profile case of News International Rupert Murdoch employees, something for which apparently Murdoch just will not forgive Starmer. But as you say, the interesting thing about this, maybe if we'd been having this conversation 10 years ago even, we would have been paying so much more attention throughout the course of the campaign as to what Murdoch would do, what the Sun would do. To be honest, it feels like a bit of an afterthought by comparison in this campaign.
I'm also interested, as we head towards polling day, the performance of Reform, because you're seeing contradictory signals. On the one hand, Nigel Farage holding a big rally at the NEC in Birmingham and, thousands turning up. On the other hand, some of the stuff that he has said about Russia coming home to bite him, the racism and the xenophobia and the misogyny of some of his, and the homophobia of some of his supporters, candidates, has also damaged him. And he is getting ever so prickly. I'm not going to appear on Laura Kunsberg because the BBC weren't nice to me on Question Time.
Boycott.
I'm going to boycott. Well, frankly, if you're a candidate in an election and you're boycotting the biggest broadcaster in town, well, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face, aren't you?
I detect a couple of things that's going on with Farage, right? Is that, as we talked about before, I spent quite a bit of time with Farage on the road, and in 2019, he's always had a sense of grievance, and he's always had a sense of persecution. I think that has gone into overdrive in this election with him. He always had at least a little bit of humour, a little bit of self-awareness, an ability to occasionally laugh at himself. He seems to have lost that entirely, and I think there is a real danger for him in this election in the final few days, in that, in terms of the response to this Channel 4 story, which has uncovered, they say, one of Reform's canvassers using the most appalling language about Rishi Sunak, and Rishi Sunak talking about how much that has hurt him and his family. Farage could have just said, shut it down straight away. He could have just said, this is appalling. We're condemning this. He's got no place in our party, etc. We all know I've got my problems with the Prime Minister, but this is completely beyond the pale. He hasn't chosen to do that. Instead, he's gone on the offensive in that totally Trumpian way. He's gone on the offensive, complaining about the BBC, complaining about the media. And there is a danger, I think, not only that we know that there is a potential ceiling for his support, partly because people suspect him and his party of racism, fairly or unfairly, but also because I think at this point, he's sounding like a whinger the whole time. He's just whinging and whining and complaining. And the British public don't like that, and they won't like that. And he's got to actually be trying to seal a deal with a proportion of the Conservative electorate in these final days. And instead, he's just whinging about the BBC. It's tedious.
Just to pick up what we haven't spoken about yet, is Labour. I mean, Labour are 4 days out from potentially the biggest election victory they have ever had. Bigger than 97, bigger than 1945, just absolutely colossal. And you sense that Keir Starmer, who had also been invited to appear on the Laura Kunsberg show, thought, you know what, do I need to? Just keep my head down, and they are just trying to draw as little attention to themselves as possible.
Well, he's already acting like the Prime Minister.
They feel that the arguments have been won, and you feel that the planning meetings are not about the next 3 or 4 days of the election campaign. No one in Labour would ever say that I'm right in this, but what they're going to do on Friday, and what they're going to do when Parliament returns, and when the recess will be, and what they're going to do in those intervening periods.
Oh yeah, that is already out. Gabriel Pogren at the Sunday Times had a story today, or scoop today, basically laying out what the first 100 days, and we see what the Prime Minister saying that Starmer would ruin the country in 100 days, actually what the first 100 days would look like, which is, and it is going to be, if he is Prime Minister, it is going to be the biggest whirlwinds that you could imagine. He's basically going to have, in very short order, new MPs elected. He's going to have a King's speech, and then he's going to go off to NATO in the first weeks, already on the world stage, and then Parliament not rising until the end of July, which is later than usual, because they're determined to get this first set of programmes or the first bits of legislation out of the doors in time for the summer recess. And news as well, apparently, that Simon Case, the Cabinet Secretary, already out of the door, or on his way out of the door, knowing, I think, because there's so much acrimony between him and Starmer's Chief of Staff, Sue Gray, who used to be a civil servant, of course, so much acrimony between the two of them that he sees the writings on the wall. They want to get their own new Cabinet Secretary, the head of the civil service, in to prepare for this new programme and agenda.
Lewis, I do think if that happens, it sends an awful signal, actually, that the Cabinet Secretary goes when a new government comes in.
It has become much more political.
Yeah, it has, because, I mean, always it has been the case that, the Gus O'Donnells of this world, they see out the Blair administration, they wait for the next people to come in.
Or Robin Butler at the end of the Major and Blair time.
Yeah, exactly. And that was always a very important sign that the civil service is a continuity that serves irrespective of party in government. And I think that if Simon Case goes immediately...
Well, they're saying 6 months.
Yeah.
They're saying 6 months. But I think it's reflective of two things with his case, right? One, that Case has been off for a long time, or has been unwell and is apparently still working from home, which is not ideal for a Cabinet Secretary. But also, it adverts to that very unusual relationship, which is Starmer has got a very senior, until recently, civil servant working for him in the form of Sue Gray. So that dynamic is a really interesting one. And again, the suggestion that actually the person they might get to replace Case is Ollie Robbins, who of course was Theresa May's chief Brexit negotiator, who... Oh, sorry, yeah. Well, this is what happens when you're broadcasting from Paris. You just have police...
The Pompiers are going past. The Pompiers are going past.
Exactly. Ollie Robbins, who was, of course, Theresa May's chief Brexit negotiator, much maligned by the Brexiters, potentially coming back into government at the top of the civil service. And so the very fact we're even having these conversations, it's almost like, and maybe we shouldn't, but it's almost like we've already moved on. It's almost like we're already thinking about what
July
the
the
first
5th.
week of a Labour government, the first in 14 years, looks like, which itself is extraordinary. But of course, we have got the small matter of the election to get through first.
And you've been to Birmingham.
I have been back home, John. I've been back home before coming back to Paris, yeah. No, I've been back to Birmingham because there is a really, really interesting race going on in Birmingham Ladywood, which on paper is one of the safest Labour seats in the country because, believe it or not, despite the fact we might be talking about a massive landslide for Labour, there are a couple of seats which Labour insiders are worried are vulnerable. We covered one a couple of weeks ago, actually, in Bristol Central to the Greens. And there is a worry among some Labour people that Shabana Mahmood, who is the Shadow Justice Secretary, key Keir Starmer lieutenant, is vulnerable to a challenge about Gaza, principally, from a local independent who ran in the West Midlands campaign. And this guy, it is worth keeping an eye on, partly because of how he has become so well known locally, using TikTok to become a local disruptor. So we spent some time with him earlier in the week.
And the interview is fabulous. That's coming up after the break.
This is The Newsagents.
This has been a weird election, and there is a very weird contest happening in the centre of Birmingham. Birmingham Ladywood is one of the safest Labour seats in the country. At the 2019 election, Labour's Shabana Mahmood, now the Shadow Justice Secretary and one of Keir Starmer's closest confidants, won nearly 80% of the vote. 80%. And yet, reportedly, the party is ploughing in resources in this election in a frantic effort to keep the seat, because it's also one of the most diverse seats in the country, with a very large Muslim population. And there is fury here over Gaza. And one man is determined to take advantage.
This is why I am the best lawyer in the UK. First of all, I let my results speak for themselves. Secondly, I reassure my clients, despite the evidence against him, I will explain the evidence to my clients. Despite it being strong, I will reassure them. I don't hide behind big words. And
This is Ahmed Yaqub. He's been called Britain's most controversial lawyer. He has amassed a huge online following, mainly through TikTok, where he has 5 million likes, and he is taking parts of the Ladywood constituency by storm, focusing relentlessly on Gaza, asking people to lend Gaza their vote in this election.
Look, I've been arrested before. I was a bit of a naughty kid. I'm not going to turn around and lie. It's the truth. I don't regret my past. I got thrown out of school. They told me to go. We was on
He has a colourful backstory. He's a defence lawyer. His catchphrase is as follows:
There is a defence for every offence.
And among other things, he's boasted about drug dealers he's helped defend and lessen their sentences.
25 years in prison. That's what my client was told that he would receive till he came to see me. And my response was that if you receive 25 years in prison, then I have to quit my job as a lawyer. He received just over 6 years for supplying Class A drugs.
On TikTok, he teaches people how to frustrate police interviews.
Top 3 mistakes when being questioned by the police. The first one is giving away too much information. You can answer questions simply by yes, no, or no comment. The second one is being nervous and having no confidence. Some interviews can be video recorded and your body language can be shown to the court. The third one is answering a question with a question. For example, if the police ask you something, you answer it, how do you know? Always remember this, and remember there's a defense for every offense.
And recently, more controversy still. In a podcast, he laughed about violence against women and defended Andrew Tate.
Back to masculinity, I personally would give her a backhander. No, I'm not joking.
That's messed up.
What sort of joke is that when you
What
represent?
happened?
You got break legs.
Are you saying if she comes up in your personal space, you will defend yourself? If she throws a punch, you can defend yourself.
No, there's a defense for every offense, bro.
He also said, I've got nothing against women. I love women. I love my wife. But everyone's got a role in society. Everyone's got a role in the household. In my household, I'm the man. I'm the king. I call the shots. The Muslim Women's Network called his comments overall deeply disturbing. He's also been accused of making anti-LGBT remarks. And yet, Yaqub came from nowhere in the recent West Midlands mayoral contest, came third. In the Ladywood constituency in that contest, he actually topped the poll. A recent constituency poll suggested that he and Mahmood were more or less neck and neck. But given what a controversial character Yaqub is, we wanted to test just how popular he really was in Ladywood, and whether he's fit to be a Member of Parliament. Right, so I'm back home in Birmingham, just emerged from New Street Station, from London, journey I've done hundreds and hundreds of times, I think it feels like now. And I'm smack bang in the middle of the city centre, somewhere else that I've been many, many hundreds of times. And you wouldn't know it when you're walking around New Street and you're walking around all the kind of Brindley Place and all the sort of trendy coffee shops and bars and all that stuff. But this seat, Birmingham Ladywood, which is on paper literally one of the safest seats in the country for Labour. Shabana Mahmood, who is the Shadow Justice Secretary, close Keir Starmer confidant, who is the MP here, has been since 2010, received just about 80% of the vote in 2019. 80%, right? I mean, that does not normally happen in democratic elections anywhere, let alone in a year where your party did really badly and got smashed nationally. But that is the hold that the party has here, partly because it is a very diverse seat. It has a very big Muslim population, one of the highest of any seats in the country. And Labour's hold, particularly in the Corbyn years, on that part of the population was rock solid. But in the last year, since October the 7th, that hold has become shakier and shakier. And unbelievably, perhaps, the Labour Party nationally has started to put resources into this seat. So worried are they about Shabana Mahmood's ability to hold it. Not to the Conservative Party or to the Greens, but to an independent candidate. Someone who is running on an explicitly pro-Gaza message, who is urging constituents here to lend Gaza their vote, quotes, by voting for him. This guy's name is Ahmed Yaqub. He actually ran in the West Midlands mayoral race and came third. And as I say, perhaps incredibly, according to some local polls, is going to give Mahmood a real run for her money. But as we arrived in Birmingham and settled down in our hotel, ready to exit the door, this happened. So we arrived in Birmingham about an hour ago, all set to meet with Mr. Yaqub, to have an interview with him. Unfortunately, we've just heard that is not going to be possible, at least for now. Mr. Yaqub's office saying that his son has fallen ill at the last minute. And at the moment, we're just waiting to find out whether we can actually talk to him again, because there are a lot of things in Mr. Yaqub's past, both recent and more distant, that we wanted to ask him about, and whether those things, frankly, disqualify him from being a parliamentary candidate. Right, we've heard nothing, despite repeated attempts to contact his office, so I'm going to phone his campaign manager, Mr. Yaqub's campaign manager, a man called Bilal. I'm going to phone him now, so let's give it a go, see if he answers my phone, because he doesn't have my number. So let's see. It is ringing. Hi, Bilal. Yeah, it's Lewis Goodall here from the news agents. Just trying to get hold of Bilal. Supposed to be doing an interview with...
He's going to be with me in another 15-20 minutes. He's just on with Mr. Yakub, and I'll tell him that you called. Was he Lewis, yeah?
Mate, yeah, that's right. Yeah, so...
Nice one.
Okay, this is my number. Yeah, we'll wait in for 20 minutes then. That'd be great. Okay. All right then. Well, thanks for that. Bilal's not available. Mr. Yakub's not available. But we are now going to wait for 20 minutes and see if Bilal gives us a ring back. Well, we never heard from Bilal, so we thought we'd just try our luck rather than just sitting around in our Birmingham hotel all afternoon and just turn up at Ahmed's law firm, see if we could find any way of talking to him. It's one of those occasions it actually worked, because bizarrely, his aides didn't ask us who we were and ushered us straight in the door.
Just take a seat here.
Oh, we will. Thank you very much.
And I'll get Ahmed to come.
Oh, that's very kind. Thank you. Very kind. So, we just thought we'd try our luck and come along to get some shots of the office, Mr. Yakub's office, and fortunately we ran into someone who's working for his campaign, and we said we were from the media and we were supposed to do an interview, and very kindly he just ushered us in, given us this, and said he's going to get Mr. Yakub. So who knows, perhaps the sun's better now, and we're just going to wait here and see if we can talk to Ahmed. His campaign manager agreed even to drive us to meet Yakub.
Billy, send me your location. I'm coming with the news reporters. By Snow Hill. Yeah, where is the bull? Barclays Bank?
Yeah, right there by the bull, Barclays Bank.
By the bull ring?
Yeah, by the bull ring, right where the bull is, the actual bull.
I don't know where the bull is nowadays. Just send me location.
Okay, but I'll send you location on my phone.
Okay, send me location. Because they keep moving the bull. And town is not easy to get to.
No, it is not easy. Ahmed, how you doing? You all right? Nice to see you.
Hello, Hava.
No, sure. Say bye.
You don't need a sticker. You take a sticker.
Say bye. Say bye, Mama. Give kiss, Mama. She actually likes you. She doesn't do that to anyone.
You know what kids can tell? Don't get here. Kids can tell. Real love. Kids and animals. They can tell. Real energy.
Kids and animals.
Yeah.
How you doing? You all right?
Okay,
So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. Well, thanks for. Well, yeah, you've been a busy man.
I'm very busy. Yeah, busy man.
So you're doing a bit of campaigning today.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to tag along with you while you do a bit of campaigning. Is that all right?
You can tag along. Come on.
Yeah.
I want you to get a drink. It's really warm. It's hot.
It is warm. It's a very hot day. It's a very hot day.
Can we go for a walk? Where's the shop? There's not to get it. Right here. Greg. Hello. Bilal. Greg.
As the campaigners wandered around the city centre in quite an aimless way, it is nonetheless undeniable that we were stopped by loads of people who recognised Yakub and knew who he was. Why is he going to win?
He's going to win the election.
Why?
This is Ahmed.
Because he's Ahmed. What does that mean?
Because he's always speaking up for people's views. He's actually caring about the community rather than just following like other people's leads.
Birmingham's his.
Birmingham's his? In what way?
He's the man for Birmingham.
Why? Why is he the man for
I don't want
Birmingham?
to be on camera, mate.
It's all right. We'll just sit on mic. Why is he the man for Birmingham?
He's the man, and you've seen what he's been doing for 3-4 weeks. Where's Shabana been? I ain't seen Shabana one day.
So he's become very well known around
Where's
it.
Shabana? Shabana's never ever been here one day. I've not seen her on the road one day. I don't know where these cameras come from. They pick her knocking one door, and then, because we've never ever seen her. We don't see her in the constituency. Mr. Yakubi has got 3 offices. Anyone can, he's not even elected yet, and he's got 3 offices.
So currently, Yakub is wandering around the middle of Birmingham city centre, in the bull ring, just next to the bull, and he's basically making a beeline for almost anyone with a child, and is giving them his stickers, which have the Palestinian colours on, and is just working the place. He is working the place, albeit in a slightly confused manner, because none of his campaign team really have any clue where we're going or what we're doing.
What, you part of my constituency? Are you going to walk with me? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. See, my constituents, they'll recognise me.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're getting a good reaction.
Yeah, all of my constituents, whoever sees, they will stop. My constituents will stop, but some people are from other areas as well.
Of course they are, because we're in the middle of the city. But you've obviously got quite a high name recognition.
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Considering you're an independent.
Yeah, I'm better known than the Labour Party itself, to be fair.
You think you're better known than the Labour Party itself?
Loved, more loved than the Labour Party.
Better loved.
Better loved.
Yeah.
We were still waiting for a plan as to whether we'd ever actually go door knocking.
You should go to the constituent door knocking, you know, that's much better. People come from all over the place here.
Come on, then I was just here, that's all. Oh, you're a legend. I'll type it in.
Okay.
I'll find Billy by the park.
See you by the park, Ahmed. Yeah, see ya.
Right, so after the complete chaos of the city centre, we agreed to reconvene in an area not far away in Borsall Heath, residential part of the Ladywood constituency.
Hello again.
But first, Ahmed needed an ice cream.
Ice cream or ice cream, you're about to die, you know. Does anybody else want anything?
No, I'm fine, thanks, mate. No, all good. Well, he wants an ice lolly.
Yeah, he wants an ice lolly.
He wants an ice lolly. Well, it's thirsty work campaigning, isn't it? You've got to have something.
See, I'll be honest with you, Lewis.
Yeah.
I only have one meal a day.
1 meal a day?
If I eat during the day, I get lazy.
I'm the same.
Yeah.
I have breakfast and then that's it until the evening.
No, I don't have breakfast as
You
well.
don't have breakfast either? Oh, right, that's taking the Lewis Goodall diet to an extreme. Okay, yeah, you get your ice cream, your ice lolly. What is your favourite ice lolly?
Clippo.
Clippo?
Cola.
They haven't got Clippos. They haven't got Clippos. They haven't got Clippos. It's got Magnums.
No, I'll have a banana.
And what you guys want?
Oh, no, we're all right, thanks. No, don't, well, Rory, do you want a twister? We've come to Borsall Heath. We haven't knocked on any doors yet, partly because the candidate is, well, he's busy in the Al Badir supermarket buying Clippos. Didn't have cola, unfortunately, so he's a bit annoyed about that. But it's important to get that right first, so we're still waiting to start the door knocking. But he is, again, being treated like a celebrity by any of the people he happens to meet whilst buying the Clippos.
I don't know.
Tricky decision.
Very tricky.
It's like politics.
I've tried that before.
Tough choice.
I've tried both of these before, so I'll go for the one that I haven't tried, the banana. And that's exactly what the constituents of Ladywood should do. They've tried everything else. They should try an alternative, something they haven't tried before, which is Ahmed Yaqub. Yeah. Not Shabana, what rhymes with banana.
There's 8 days to go. I mean, do we worry we're running out of time here? Is this the best use of campaign time? I mean, I don't know. You tell me.
We've got over 100 people door knocking right now.
Well, they are, yeah. Where are they?
All over the constituency.
All over. Yeah, you got time for an ice cream then?
Yeah, I got time.
Yeah. We're holding up the traffic here. Why?
He is the one that's representing all the youth. He's got all the facts right. He's getting people out of trouble. Right. This geezer's on this thing straight from Lozelle.
Some people think he's very controversial.
Bro, Biden's controversial. Starmer's controversial. Rich is.
Why are you voting for him? Why?
Why am I voting for him? Because he's the man to vote for. He's the right man on this thing.
Okay. Sorry about this. Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you, brother.
How do all these people know you, Ahmed? I mean, seriously, how do they all know you? Because you are an independent candidate. That is not normal that you would have such high name and face recognition. How do they know who you are?
I lived in this area, in the inner city areas, all my life.
Yeah, I know, but loads of people do that, but they wouldn't know it. Why do they all know you? What have you done? How have you done that?
I'm a people's person as well, and social media's helped me a lot.
Yeah.
As well.
TikTok in particular.
TikTok, yeah, and to be fair, I say the right things. There's a lot of people that have TikToks,
but they don't have a following like mine. I say the right things, things that concern people, things that should be said.
Like what?
For example, the neglect of the Birmingham inner city areas, the chance to go up against political elites, show that the people's voice matters. Show that the people's voice matters. Hello. How's it going? I'm here. I have to keep coming back, don't I? Because I need to assure that everybody knows about me and everybody's going to be voting for me. This election is very important. So I'm sorry to disturb you. It's a nice day though. It's a nice day. But yeah, look after yourself. Make sure you go out to vote on the 4th. We've only got 1 week left now. Spread the word as well.
What did you promise you was going to do for me?
I've got it written down anyway.
Oh yeah. The trees. Look where it is.
On the right hand side up there.
Look there, and in the back garden.
I know. I've got it written down.
You got it written down.
I've got it written down, don't worry.
Make sure you remember.
I will remember.
And what's my name?
Blossom. You blossom like the spring. Like the spring flowers, don't ya? Listen, you don't forget you. I'll see you later.
Nice to meet you.
Make sure you go out and vote. Get all these before you go out to vote. Just remind them it's going to be a nice summer's day anyway.
Are you going to vote for him?
I'm going to vote for him if I can get what I want.
If you get what you want. Right. Yeah. Okay.
You'll get what you want.
No, but how's it feel when you see your face on the windows? Do you like it?
Hope my mum's proud of me.
Yeah. I get the feeling you might quite like it.
Getting shown so much love by the people you are going to be representing in a couple of weeks' time. It's overwhelming, man. It's overwhelming. And I'm going to be God's given me an opportunity to be in a position to help people.
You think God's given you an opportunity to help people?
Of course, God's given me an opportunity to help people, you see.
Yeah. Selected.
Yeah, you can say that.
Yeah, I suppose you could, yeah. Just did.
Assalamu alaikum. ठीक हो बाजी सही लोग फिल्म लाने ठीक है मैं आया वोटां ने बारे हैं मुझे पहचाने आदे अहमद यकूब हमारा नाम मा इंडिपेंडेंट कैंडिडेट करता हूँ शबाना महमूद ने खिलाफ करता हूँ तो उसे कटना ठीक है इंडिपेंडेंट नंबर 5 इतना नहीं
his place.
Oh, you think he's going to win?
No, his own place is running away.
Okay.
Oh, we can try. See if it's not win.
Do you normally vote Labour?
I normally vote Labour. Yeah. It's normally a Labour household.
Yeah.
Okay, but now that we've got Ahmed here standing for the people and for everything around for the community, we're happy to give our support to Ahmed himself and independent party.
And why? But why? Why the change? You're normally a Labour household, but why not this time?
Why not this time? Well, Gaza's the main issue as well. How Labour has refrained from doing anything for Gaza, and a few local issues as well, like even our local MPs.
It is telling how often local stuff comes up. It is Gaza. This is like hyper-local.
Oh, wow.
Local issues around Birmingham and the council, the bankrupt council, all that. And like in so many other places, just like the physical deterioration of places like this, but also Gaza. So it's this hyper-local, but also weirdly international campaign. And everyone bloody knows him. I keep coming back to it. It's amazing. I've covered enough campaigns to know this almost never happens.
We did eventually manage to corner him to put some of his comments that he's made in the past to him and ask him whether he really thought those are appropriate things for a Member of Parliament to say.
Ahmed, why did you want to run to be an MP?
Originally, mine initially started when Shabana Mahmood abstained from voting in a motion for a ceasefire in November 2023.
So it was Gaza that motivated your political run? First for West Midlands Mayor and now this.
Yes. West Midlands mayoral election, like I said earlier, that was a warm-up. I want to show the Labour Party what can be done, and I want you to show the people with their support we can defeat the Labour Party like we did in the inner city areas when I received 43,000 votes.
How have you done it? How have you managed to come from nowhere to get such profound name recognition, which you clearly have? And we've been walking around with you now, and people do stop the car and they say hello to you. This is very unusual. How have you done it?
Look, whoever I see, anybody approaches me, I will talk to them, and It's not even that. It's if somebody ever comes to me for help and it's within my powers to help them, I will help them. And I've been doing it all my life.
It's digital. It's social media though as well, isn't it?
It is social media, but what is on social media, you should see that as well, isn't it? They like the content, don't they?
Do you accept, just leaving that to one side, because you'll be an MP and you'll be an independent MP, and obviously MPs have to abide by the highest standards. Do you accept that you've said things, even quite recently, that do not meet those standards of being an MP, particularly, for example, with regards to women?
I may have said things that I regret, and I have publicly apologized for those things. The mainstream media are painting me out to be, or making me out to be, a bad person. You went today in the Birmingham city centre for a walk with me. Forget about Borsalete West, my constituency, my future constituency. People will know me here because I've been door knocking, I have been campaigning. You was in the Birmingham city centre with me. Yeah. Who were the majority of the people who stopped and took a picture with me?
That doesn't matter, does it? Because it's what matters.
Were the majority of people?
No, but what matters is objectively what you said. So just, I mean, for example, you know,
who were the majority of people?
When you did a podcast, in response, but in a response to a fellow podcast guest saying he would give his wife a backhander, i.e., hit her if she made money dancing on TikTok, you, a criminal defence lawyer, replied, "Brother, are you saying if she comes up in your personal space, you will defend yourself?" That is appalling, isn't it? You're basically laughing about violence against women.
I made a public apology to that, and I said I was actually mortified to listen back to the recording. So I don't want to keep repeating myself, Lewis.
You said, how much can you lower your gaze? It's natural for men to be attracted to females, so keep our queens at home. What did you mean by that?
Again, I've made a public apology for some of the comments that I've made in that podcast. And you can read it online, Lewis.
Yeah. But I mean, you also said in the post that the one person I rate is Andrew Tate. Do you still rate Andrew Tate? Do you still admire him?
Let me tell you something about Andrew Tate and why you have to rate him. The mainstream media have been doing hate pieces against him for almost 2 years now. And the man still comes back. He's not broken. He still comes back with a response all the time.
Ahmed.
The way he deals with the media.
He's been accused. There are claims against him of rape, people trafficking and organised crime. Do you really think that the people of Birmingham Lady would want their MP to be defending this guy?
You asked me a different question first, and now you asked me another question. Well, let me tell you about why I said no. It's not. Let me tell you first about why I said I rate him. I rate him the way he stands up to the mainstream media.
Been accused of rape?
Accused. I'm a defence lawyer, in case you forgot, Lewis.
Indeed you are, indeed.
So if everyone is innocent until proven guilty, just because the mainstream media points someone out to be guilty doesn't mean they are guilty.
You said before there's an agenda by the higher powers against him. Do you believe that?
The mainstream media, there is definitely a agenda against him by the mainstream media. I just said it earlier as well.
And this is, by the way, a guy who has said before that rape victims bear some responsibility for being attacked. I mean, you would agree that's an appalling comment. Yeah.
That's an appalling comment. Of course, that's an appalling comment.
You're the one defending the... I mean, the guy... Look, whatever we think about his crimes, he said some appallingly misogynist things. You would agree?
He probably has said some appalling things. I can't sit here and start justifying all of his actions. Go ask him, isn't he? He's in Romania. Go and ask him.
But you're the one who said he's the one guy you rate. The one guy you rate.
I rate him the way he stands up to mainstream media. That's why I rate him. And I don't rate all of his comments or justify all of his actions. I can't ask him, he's his own man.
So because,
I'm my own man. I'm Ahmed Yaqub, he's Andrew
because
Tate.
He stands up to the mainstream media, that basically excuses anything that he might have been accused of and the appalling comments that he has definitely made.
I don't say the excuses.
Well, you are, because you're saying you rate him because he stands up to the mainstream media. So
you should stand up to the mainstream media because they...
So you would rather put yourself...
Malcolm X once said that if you're not careful, the mainstream media or the media will...
You think Andrew Tate is like Malcolm X?
I didn't say that. I said Malcolm X says, if you're not careful, the media will have you looking at the innocent man as the guilty man and the guilty man...
You would rather associate yourself with Andrew Tate than, say, the BBC or Sky News or the Times newspaper or whatever, these mainstream newspapers.
That's not what I said.
Well, it is. You're constantly saying that the guy is standing up to... They're constantly saying that they are standing it up to...
Exactly.
The gentleman here is asking ridiculous...
They're not ridiculous, sir. They're not ridiculous. The guy could be the next MP for Birmingham Ladywood.
Campaigning.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm going to be that man's future MP.
I've got some time that Mr. Yaqub can...
Yeah, I'd rather give this time to my constituent.
Because
it's more important.
Because I'm more important, and you know what we say.
You said that most of these people, famous people, are gay, and you're going to have gay constituents.
Him not to film me because obviously
Don't film him,
he
you're
hasn't
not
got my
allowed to film.
permission. Okay. And whatever you filmed, I would like you to erase because you haven't had my permission at all.
We're not interested in filming you, sir.
You're invading my privacy.
So,
Public space.
no, well,
sir, we're not. Sir, with the greatest respect, we're not interested in filming you. Yeah, you interrupted us. We were doing an interview.
I am his future MP. He's got every right to come and ask me questions. It's his democratic right to ask me questions.
I've come from work.
He's parked up his car specifically to speak to me.
I've no doubt about that, Ahmed, but you're going to have to get used to tough questions. You're going to have to get used to tough questions if you're an MP.
Your colleague.
If a constituent
Talk to me. Excuse me. Talk to me. No, don't talk to him. Talk to me.
Please.
You matter more.
Now, at the end of the day, right, Mr. Yaqub is my witness. If any of filming that you have taken without my permission, I will be taking action towards.
We've no interest in filming you, sir. We've no interest in filming you, sir.
Now, I apologise if I interrupted.
Well, you did, but that's perfectly okay.
I don't think I have, because I was talking to the gentleman over here. Mr. Yaqub approached me, and then you interrupted. So
I think you interrupted us, sir, but that's okay. It's fine.
He's allowed to.
Of course he is. It's perfectly
I
fine.
haven't committed a crime. I haven't committed a crime.
Okay, we need to go somewhere.
You need to go. Well, there he goes. He's gone off to speak to that gentleman. I had a few more questions, but that's okay. I understand. That's perfectly fine. We've got to go as well.
Now,
so
obviously,
we'll do that.
if this race really is up for grabs and it's a two-horse race and it's between Yaqub and Labour's Shabana Mahmood, we should say and remind ourselves that, of course, this is such a safe Labour seat. We wanted to interview the Shadow Justice Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, but for whatever reason, that interview request was declined. So we hopped over to a nearby constituency to talk to Labour's Jess Phillips. Jess Phillips in Birmingham Yardley. Birmingham Yardley is a constituency with a big Muslim population. So she is experiencing many of these same dynamics in trying to persuade Muslim voters that Labour is still a party for them.
He does seem to be getting, nonetheless, real traction there. I mean, that's quite worrying, isn't it?
I mean, it's worrying. First and foremost, it's worrying because how the hell is he going to deliver on any of the things that he claims to? And nobody's asking him how. He you know, the idea that he's going to sort out the decline in Ladywood, pull the other one. I mean, when he was standing to be the mayor of the West Midlands, which is the only time I really ever had any interaction with what he was offering, one of the things he offered on one of his leaflets, which I probably got somewhere, was that he would, you know, set up an aid route to Gaza, to which I was like, well, how are you going to do that on the 11 bus, because that's what the mayor's in charge of? Do you think that Benjamin Netanyahu's sitting waiting for the West Midlands mayor, and yet he's writing this as if this is going to happen? It's just dishonest to lie to people and claim that some maverick is just going to suddenly come and, I don't know, Ladywood's going to be paved with gold. It's just a lie. And that, I find, it just is so disingenuous. How is he going to recognise the state of Palestine? He can't do that. He literally won't have the power to do it. Now, as for the women thing, like I said, the first time I ever came across him, I'd never heard of the man. I've certainly never seen him in the areas trying to help people or do anything in the local community. So I'd never come across him. And a woman who had been a victim of domestic abuse sent me an email and said, could you please... I don't know whether she thought he was standing for the Labour Party. Lots of people bring their complaints to me. But she got in touch with me and said, could you intervene and stop this man? Like, he said these terrible things about domestic abuse. And she sent me some links and stuff on Instagram that I couldn't open. And I looked up his name and I said, I have literally no power over who stands because it's nothing to do with my political party. So I don't know, maybe you can make a complaint to the Electoral Commission or something. And I never thought anything of it. And since he's been saying these horrible things on these podcasts and stuff, I have got loads, specifically from loads of messages of fear from Muslim women who have been victims of domestic abuse getting in touch with me and saying, how can this be happening? Like, please, please, please do something to stop this man who's got these views and is spreading these sorts of views about get any power. Like, they're frightened. That's my only interaction with him.
He claims women love him. He claims women in his constituency
some
love
women
him.
probably do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure some women do. All I can speak to is the women who understandably would get in touch with somebody like me as a campaigner on that.
Right, there are particular things about this constituency which are unique, and there are things which feel very similar to everywhere else we're going in the country. On the things that are peculiar and particular to here, look, Ladywood has got a big Muslim population, and there is no doubt, from being here, other conversations I've had, the Labour Party has got a lot of work to do with the Muslim population in this country. That clip of Keir Starmer on LBC in particular, it's done enormous damage, and it's going to take a lot to unpick and undo that. Gaza is a very, very big issue. Yaqub and candidates elsewhere as well, think of course of George Galloway and Rochdale, making enormous hay with that. And of course, maybe that's going to be fatal here in Ladywood, maybe it won't because the national poll lead is so high, but when Labour get into government, if Labour get into government and become unpopular, that becomes a bigger problem, because if the historic planks of your coalition are wobbly, then it becomes a big political problem when the rest of your coalition, the one that you've just started to assemble in this election, easily fritter away because you're unpopular in government. But there's something else as well, right, which is what is the same here as everywhere else, is that, we've talked about it before, that unbelievable cynicism, that belief that politics, it is simply not possible for politics to make your life better. And into that void steps someone like Yaqub, backed up and buttressed in particular by an astonishing social media operation, the sort of thing that I think we are going to see more of in the years to come, in a way that I think the established parties, the big parties, have not quite woken up to. As I say, not a big problem necessarily for Labour in this election because they're so far ahead. But when and if they get into trouble in government, when the Conservatives remain tarnished in opposition, then you might see more faces, more people like Yaqub, peddling a very particular type of politics that could make us feel very uncomfortable very, very quickly.
This is The Newsagents.
Alors, qu'est-ce qu'on va faire?
From Birmingham to Paris.
Yeah, so qu'est-ce qu'on va faire? We're going to watch the football now.
Regardez le foot.
Okay.
And you're going to have to guide me through it, John, of course.
Yeah.
You're going to have to guide me through it.
À demain. Thank you.
Full French election coverage tomorrow on the podcast. À demain.
The Newsagents. This is a Global Player original podcast.